plan here is simple. I asked VTubers some of the internet's hardest questions. You know, we need to know. We need to know what people think on these certain questions. And so I went around and I DM'd a bunch of people on Twitter in hopes of getting their answers to these questions. In reality, though, it resulted in me mostly getting donut-walled by a bunch of people. I also got my Twitter DMs locked for a short period of time because I kept DMing people who did not follow me. Well, I managed to get 8 people to respond, which is not exactly a high number, but it's enough. It's enough. We have some responses. But before we get into the responses, I, of course, am also going to go through the questions. So the first question I asked was, what is your VTuber/channel name? Obviously, because we want to know who these people are. Getting into the questions. The first question is Coke or Pepsi. Then I asked pineapple on pizza, which is a hugely debated question because people think pineapple on pizza is gross. And then there's other people who understand Hawaiian pizza, which is pineapple and ham, and how pizza can be made a certain way so that they can make certain toppings work better. Then I asked, of course, legendary question here, is water wet? I'm not going to dive too into this one right now for my personal answer. We'll get into that when we go over the responses. But is water wet? Pretty popular question. Also, how many holes are in a straw? Another popular question as of late on the internet. After I asked how many holes are in a straw, I did ask, is the S or C silent in the word scent? And then we have a highly debated question right here. If you bake 2 lasagnas and then put one lasagna on top of the other, is it still 1 or 2 lasagnas? Is it one big lasagna or is it still 2 lasagnas? Is cereal soup? Yes or no? Is hot dog a sandwich? Yes or no? These two are pretty similar questions, but I figure if somebody answers yes to this, they might answer yes to this. And same thing, if they answer no to this, they'll answer no to this. Then we have the question, who would win in a fight? 1 billion lions or all 898 of the Pokemon? Then another question, is it Yanny or Laurel? Do you pour the cereal first or the milk first? And of course, I feel like most people pour the cereal first, but we may have some milkers, I'm not sure. And then, is peanut butter a liquid or a solid? Which is actually a trick question, but I'll get more into that as we go over the responses. And then, do you put the toilet paper over or under? This is a highly debated question, and that one also ends friendships, just as the Pokemon one does. So those are the questions that I asked, and we're gonna go ahead and get into the responses. So the first person I asked was Serafina, who's actually a sibling of mine. Then I asked Lulu, who I have collabed with a number of times. I also asked Peach, another friend of mine. Puzai, who is a friend who I've also collabed with, did a Minecraft collab a little while back. Bug, who was also in that Minecraft collab. I also asked Salem, Akumachi, and Leafy. Mostly smaller VTubers and people who I am friends with or have talked to at some point. So getting into the responses, Coke or Pepsi? Pretty split. Not very many people like Pepsi. Then the pineapple on pizza question. 50-50 split. I don't know. I thought more people would be in favor of pineapple on pizza. Ooh, is water wet? Now this one I said I'd dive more into it, but I've had this explained to me before. Water makes things wet, but water can't make itself wet. That's all that was explained to me. And so since then, I've always thought, is water wet? No, it's not. If you think it is, just remember, if you put water on a counter, the counter is wet. If you put water on water, you just have more water. Next, we have how many holes are in a straw? 2 people said 2 holes. I'm really not sure what to think. I say there's only 1 big hole in the straw. It's 1 big hole in a rod of plastic or paper, a rod of, It's just one big hole. If there's two holes in your straw might not work properly. Is the S or C silent in the word scent? Oh wow, I'm surprised this isn't more like 50-50, but I guess it makes sense. The C would be silent. So if you bake 2 lasagnas and then put one on top of the other, is it still 1 or 2 lasagnas? And a majority say that it's 1. I've had people tell me that it's 2. And I've also heard people make the argument that, well, if you put like an old lasagna on top of a new lasagna, then it's definitely 2 lasagnas. Otherwise, you know, you have a pretty big difference in those lasagnas. It's not gonna mix. It's not 1, it's 2. But the question here is, if you bake 2 lasagnas and then put one on top of the other, is it still 1 or 2? Which is implying that they're baked at the same time and then you put one on top of the other. I definitely think it's 1. To me, lasagna is just what? Pasta cake? And you have layered cakes that exist, so why not, you know? But next, we have, is cereal soup? Which, this is the one that I said earlier. If they answer yes or no to this, they'll most likely answer yes or no to like the other question. Like, in terms of if they answer yes, they're gonna answer yes on the next question, and if they answer no, they're gonna answer no on the next question as well. So we'll see if the results are exactly the same. I think they're going to be, but first one is cereal soup. Majority of people say no. My answer is, of course, by the definition of soup, I guess you could say it's soup, as well as most soups have a broth. So I'd say a bowl of cereal is not soup at the start, but it can be soup if you let the milk soak into the cereal and now you have cereal broth. I say it's not soup, but that it could be. But let's see. So is a hot dog a sandwich? I think the ratios are going to be the same. No! Wow, okay. So, surprisingly, I thought it was still going to be split 75-25, but it's split 50-50. So 2 people switched up the way that they thought and agreed that a hot dog is a sandwich. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Well, if you put it in a bun. Otherwise, it's just a hot dog. You can have hot dogs in your spaghetti. It's not in bread. It's not a sandwich. Up next, though, we do have a big question. Who would win in a fight? 1 billion lions or all 898 of the Pokemon? And unsurprisingly, we do have 1 lioner. So, you know, somebody's got to answer. You can't have a unanimous decision. Somebody's got to answer in the wrong direction. Emphasis on wrong. Of course the Pokemon would win. It doesn't matter if it's 1 trillion lions. Like, 1 billion's a lot of people, or not people, but lions. That's a large number. 1 billion is a large number. That is true. But you have these Pokemon that are like gods that have completely like built worlds. So there's no way. It's like saying, do you think 7 billion people could fight God? Of course not. I'm glad that a majority of people that I asked were on my side. Next, is it Yanny or Laurel? I think it's Yanny right off the bat. Whenever you listen to the video clip or the audio clip, it sounds like Yanny, but over time it'll sound like Laurel. Beyond the Yanny or Laurel, do you pour the cereal first or the milk first? We have 2 milkers. I should reword that, but I'm not going to. 2 people who believe that they should pour the milk first. Like, they just pour it first, like, all the time. course, the answer here for them is I do not belong in society, because who pours the milk first? The cereal clearly needs to go first, otherwise it's going to get too soggy. I mean, it's pretty simple. If you pour the milk early on, it's going to get more soggy, or it's going to get soggy quicker. Especially by the time you get to, like, you know, once you're done pouring the cereal, like everything that pours first is instantly getting soggy. Plus, you get less cereal. You pour the cereal first, you can see how much cereal you're gonna get in the bowl. Then you can pour a small amount of milk to just kind of fill around the cereal. I couldn't pour the milk first, no matter what. I'd rather eat cereal with water before pouring the milk first. Then, is peanut butter a liquid or a solid? And everybody thinks it's a solid. Like I said earlier, this is a trick question though. Technically it's a liquid solid colloid, so it's both a liquid and a solid. The liquid parts are the oils in peanut butter, and then the solid parts are the little pieces of peanut butter, and it's mixed together. So technically it's both. If you heat peanut butter up, it starts to separate, but technically it's both. And then the last question that we have, do you put the toilet paper over or under? And we have one person who is not welcome to my house. Honestly, I think it was kind of cool to ask these questions. I'd like to do them again, maybe with a few different questions and a few more people. But that's it so far for me asking VTubers some of the internet's hardest questions or most debated questions. Anyway, that's it. This is gonna go up on YouTube, so go subscribe to the YouTube channel now. Right now.